team. So stakes are high. What are those stakes? Is it playoff stakes? Is it just developing stakes? What are the stakes? Why are the stakes so high? Well, one, you got $200 million invested into this team, this roster. But also, a lot of people want to see the youngsters. And it's been fun to see the youngsters and Matos and Ramos and Luciano. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't want to see Casey Schmidt again.
Well, he played in the 10th inning defensive replacement.
Yeah, that's all I want to see from Casey Schmidt. Guy can't hit anything. Guy hasn't had a hit since last June.
We had the walk-off like a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
Okay,
I know.
Dramatic. I know that's your guy, but Casey Schmidt's
it was a Mother's Day moment.
He's not a big leaguer. But what do you do? What do you do if it starts costing you wins like last night? Well, it's not all on the youngsters. It's not all on them. I'm not pinpointing the youngsters, but you're going to have to live with some of the bumps in the road that comes with playing a lot of youngsters.
Well, you've lived with a lot of bumps in the road for Yastrzemski's up and downs. Is he a youngster?
He's been all right.
No. Is he a youngster?
He's not a youngster, but you had no other options.
Well, no, you did, and I told you had him in the minor leagues.
They tried him last year, and they didn't work out with these guys. These minor leaguers weren't ready last year.
Luciano played 72 games last year and was actually out hitting lefties than what Yaz was doing. I'm just saying,
Luciano was
case
okay
in point,
Come on.
we're not benching Klay Thompson, who's a legend and has won rings. You're finding either marginal upgrades or marginal downgrades who are significantly younger but have higher upside, right? So, to me, this is a totally different conversation than whatever we were having with the Warriors regarding Jonathan Kuminga. And I just look at, a game like yesterday. Yeah, the young guys had a hand in it, but also my veteran closer, also a veteran journeyman reliever in Luke Jackson, also a veteran player with the bases loaded, Mike Yastrzemski, all coming up short, And so, they giveth, it taketh away, it comes back. The young guys are going to make plays. They're going to make some mistakes. But I have no grandiose opinions that this team is a contender. I want to stick with the young guys for the time being. And if we find out, like Casey Schmidt, there's a big body of work where that guy cannot play, well, then now we have a different story.
Luis Matos played 76 games last year, batted .250, 2 home runs, 14 RBIs. Marco Luciano played 14 games last season. Batted .231, no homers, no RBIs. He wasn't ready to roll. Where's Ramos at? Ramos down here last year. Elliot Ramos last year was awful. He was just completely awful. 25 games, batted .179.
Yeah, they were all a lot of pinch hitting situations.
So they weren't ready to roll. Let's get to the calls though. Let's get to the calls because I'm not disagreeing with you, Shasky.
I mean, .250 by the way for Luis Matos is better than league average.
I'm not disagreeing with you where they shouldn't play the youngsters. I'm not saying that whatsoever. But I know how fans think, and I know how you operate. At one point, and we'll see it. Let's see how it plays out. But if they start to lose games in the fashion I did there last night, and some of the youngsters have their fingerprints all over it, if you're Farhan and you're trying to save your job, what do you do? What do you do? I want to see the youngsters. I want to make myself clear. I want to see the youngsters play. But I also understand that this is a business and this is a bottom line business. And the Giants right now, their expectation is we gotta sniff the wild card at least. We gotta start to build a winner here.
If you think 2 months of the Giants being around 500 with some veterans is what's gonna save Farhan's job, I find that can be way off. That's not how I make decisions. I don't think that's how the Giants are going to make decisions. Their decision on whether Farhan stays or goes is deeper than a couple of months of contention or above 500 with some veteran outcast journeyman. That's my particular. I have enough belief in the credibility of the organization and ownership that they're thinking bigger and deeper than that.
I hope so. But they also spent $200 million on his payroll. Blake Snell's got $30 million. What's Matt Chapman's contract? What's Harris-Hilaire's contract? They spent the money out there telling us that we want to win.
Well, those guys are going to play.
Big boy money.
Yeah, but
big boy money, man.
But to your point, Chapman's going to – no one is at third base.
Nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to do that. But Soler shouldn't play.
Well –
Soler shouldn't be playing.
I mean –
Soler stinks right now.
Right now, Soler and Wilmer are about the same output.
They stink.
Yeah, well, that's –
Soler's getting big boy money and he stinks, and Blake Snell's stuck until –
Well, that's
we'll see about him.
That's undeniable.
We'll see about him.
And they need Blake Snell. Quite frankly, they need Blake Snell.
Let's get to the lines. Casey in San Jose. Casey, what's happening? You're on the roast.
Hey, guys, thanks for taking my call. I'll get into it on what's going to happen with the players to your question. But, my son's turning 11. in July, so I think you're getting him a Giants jersey, and just probing him over the last couple of weeks, he named, because Little League, they play on different teams, he named Bobby Witt, Manny Machado, Bryce Hart, all these guys before we even got to a Giants jersey. So the point I'm going to make is, it's like watching Field of Dreams, where you get to see all these legends, and then in the end, you get to see your dad, and then the only way you care about a Giants player is if that guy's your dad. Because everybody else has the talent. We have the generic player in Major League Baseball video games. Everybody's boring. Everybody's boring. There's no interest. And now to my serious point, the Giants have been given a market, thanks to the clown show in Oakland, that they can capture for generations. And Bonte, I know they spent $200 million, and I'm not saying the young guys are a sure thing like De La Cruz and other guys around the league.
Right.
But something is rotten in Amsterdam situation. Why can't they develop anybody?
I know.
I don't
it's
get
unbelievable. I don't get it either. But now's the time to play these guys.
Is Harrison getting developed as a pitcher?
I think he is.
I think
absolutely.
so too.
Harris, that's one guy though.
Yeah,
that's one guy
I
in
agree.
6 years.
How about Bailey? I don't think we have enough.
We don't have enough data on Bailey.
Yeah.
Last year could be a complete fluke because what I've seen this year so far, it's like,
it's been up and down. It's been up and down. Well, how do you
down and up?
No, like from the little that you've seen from Matos this year,
it's been fun.
It's been really good,
It's been
right?
fun, but I also am not a dummy, knowing that 3 of those games came against the Colorado Rockies.
Yeah, but
they have the worst pitching in baseball.
But don't you owe it to yourself to, like, as you see this
I'm
guy
not
that
saying
they claim,
pitching him.
No,
I'm not saying
but
that,
here's what I'm
Chesky.
saying. Like, as you see them claim this guy from the Orioles that none of us has ever heard of, and he gets 3 at bats last night. Like, he was terrible. McKenna's terrible, and like, I'd rather see Matos, even if he struggles and falls back down to earth. He batted .250 last year, and he wasn't even ready. Right, so to me, you owe it to yourself to just let him play for a couple months.
I never disagree with that. I never disagree with that. But there is some give and take with certain fans. Not every fan is going to think like you.
No, I agree with that.
Not every fan is going to think like Lubman and say, hey, develop. Some fans are going to say, we want to win games. We're tired of missing out on the playoffs. Been in one postseason since 2016. Just one.
Yeah, but I also think the Giants fans, like, yes, they want to win. They just want to know that there's hope. And I think that when you see a journeyman-filled roster, there's very little hope.
Well, I wouldn't call Conforto a journeyman. Conforto's been a good big leaguer. His problem is he hasn't been healthy.
Ponte.
Conforto hasn't been healthy.
A journeyman to me is someone who is like a middle of the road outfielder. He's making $17, $18 million a year. That's middle of the road. He's 31 years old. Michael Conforto could walk down the street right now.
I look at Yaz as more of a journeyman than Michael Conforto.
Okay.
But that's a lot of baseball players. You can say Michael Conforto walking down the street, nobody will recognize him. Well, the best player in baseball for many years, Mike Trout. We could say the same about him. He could walk down the street, nobody would know who Mike Trout is.
Well, he physically looks completely different than Conforto.
But nobody would know who he is, though. I remember asking Ray Ratto about this. Like, Ray Ratto, would you recognize Mike Trout? He goes, hell no. And he's got to vote for the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. Let's go to Jay in San Jose.
That's a whole other conversation.
Jay in San Jose, what's happening? You're on the roast.
Hey, what's up, fellas? Long-time listener.
Thank you.
Many-time caller. Appreciate you guys. Butcher, I really like a lot of your takes, but I'm just really grown frustrated with his team, man, because, you got Farhan. He's only popped in one season, and it was a one-away season win, and that was great, fantastic. We thought we had hope when we thought we were developing. Turns out that was a fugazi. We found that out the very next season. These young guys, the question was, do you want to play with the young guys or do you want to go for wins? If you go for either one, it's not going to work this season. And I'm blaming Farhan, and I'm frustrated, man, because I'm a big-time Giants fan. I'm trying to raise my son a certain way. And my wife is a Dodger fan, man. And I'm trying to raise him to be a Giants fan. And we can't even compete in our division. And we just lowered our expectations without even nobody knowing. Farhan has lowered our expectations. We're arguing about, do we want to, start the young kids? We should have a good mix of big-time players that we recognize their names, and we're looking forward to playing and watching, and then having a mix of the young guys that we can kind of develop when maybe they're not going to develop because they're young and they don't know. But, just like the same thing that happens every
Let me ask you this, Jay. Jay, I'm going to put you on Farhan's. And you know me, Jay. I'm not a Farhan guy. I haven't been for a long, long time. But if you are Farhan, and you have this team, and you spent all this money in the offseason, and you tell Susan Slusser from the San Francisco Chronicle a couple weeks ago, the stakes are high for this team. We need to play better. We need to compete. What do you do with Farhan? If you're Farhan, what this is a dilemma for him. Some of the youngsters may not be ready to win games, but they may excite you. They may make great plays, but they may make mistakes. Do you do it at the cost of winning, knowing that it may cost him his job? What do you do if you're Farhan?
Let me tell you something, bro. Like, the only hope that I have with this team, bro, Farhan is fired in my mind. He's fired. And the only hope that I have is he's so desperate right now that he's trying to do something. But I haven't seen it yet, and I'm hoping that he does something real soon, bro.
Yeah, I mean, and let's be real. Let's be real about something. And sometimes, love to say, hey, man, so many. Thankfully, injuries did happen. Now, I don't wish injuries on nobody. But if Conforto doesn't get hurt, if Slater doesn't get hurt, if Ahmed doesn't get hurt, we don't see these guys. And that's the biggest disappointing thing. So Farhan, I don't think Farhan in his heart of hearts.
That they didn't have the foresight? Is that what you're... I apologize.
We wouldn't have seen these guys right now.
Gotcha.
We would have seen the Colorado series with Matos.
No
he would have been the NL Player of the Week.
No doubt.
If these injuries don't happen.
First one in 6 years.
Jung Hoo Lee running into a wall and tearing up his shoulder.
Yeah.
In Farhan's heart of hearts, these guys weren't ready. So they're only up because guys dropping like flies. It's crazy. Now sometimes, but this is where the youngsters, they got to take advantage of the situation. And that's why I'm hard on Marco Luciano this morning, not blaming him. But son, if you want to stay in this lineup, and Nick Ahmed is looming, and you're making mistakes like that, and Farhan wasn't ready to bring you up in the first place, you got to make plays like you did in the ninth inning. And if you don't make those plays, his ass is going to be back on the Amtrak going to Sacramento.
Do you know who leads the Major League Baseball in errors this year?
It's the Giants.
No, just individual players.
Matt Chapman's up there.
Ellie De La Cruz.
Youngster.
And O'Neal Cruz.
And I don't even know if they're shortstops, natural shortstops. These guys are big for their position.
They're 6'5".
You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
But so, do you know who led all of baseball last year in errors? And it was by a wide margin.
Who's that?
Trey Turner. 27. So the point that I'm getting at is that it's a horrible error. It's a bad error. You gotta be better.
Can you admit though that Trey Turner has a track record of being an all Major League Baseball player?
Of course, Bonte. But my point is also that that you can also bring more to the game than a flub here and there defensively.
Right.
Like there are a lot of one-way players, and Trey Turner is an all-rounded player.
Right. But he's a $300 million player who's gonna do more good than bad, and he's going to make things happen with his bat.
He's
going to make things happen with his bat.
I know, but the point I'm trying to make is that there is tolerance for other people to make mistakes, but we never have any tolerance for a young player to make a mistake. When just last year, Brandon Crawford had the most errors he's had in years.
And he was long in the tooth.
And he played like a fraction of the season.
And he's gone. And he's gone. And we knew he was long in the tooth. And we knew his range was suppressed. We knew that. He couldn't move around with that knee. We knew that. And I'm not disagreeing with you that the kids need to play. But boy, oh boy, if you're Farhan, what do you do? And I'm saying, and you guys make it seem like I'm not saying play the youngsters. I'm saying play the youngsters. Gosh, I'm locked in on the Giants. I love seeing the youngsters
let's play the reverse of this.
But when you lose a game like that, and there are a segment of Giants fans, believe it or not, who want to compete for a wild card. They're tired of watching October baseball with that orange and black.
Of course. I mean, we want our cake and eat it too.
Are we sure we want to sacrifice wins and losses to play youngsters?
How fun was it last year? They blew more saves than any team in baseball.
It sucked.
And those were with all veterans.
It sucked.
So, you can't have it both ways. You have to allow for some development here. And I just think their business model, the way that they've been operating, it hasn't resonated with anyone. It just hasn't. It hasn't. And here's the thing. When I say play youngsters, playing all 8 positions every day as rookies and second-year players, that's not even going to be realistic. They're going to play Lamont Wade at first. They're going to play Chapman at third. Those are 2 veterans. They're going to play Yaz in right field. That's your 3rd veteran. Tyro Estrada is in his second, 3rd, 4th year, second full season starting. He's a veteran. So every day there are a minimum of 4 veterans playing. I can sprinkle in the young guys. I can live with it.
I'm not disagreeing with that. We're saying the same thing. I'm not disagreeing with that whatsoever. But if you're Farhan Zaidi in that seat, and you know the stakes are high, which he said, what does that mean?
So what player are you swapping out that has to get back into the lineup?
I'm not trying to swap out any players. You're missing my point. My point is, what does Farhan do? We could both say play the youngsters.
Well,
but if you're Farhan and your job is on the line and your seat is hot as hell and you're trying to win games to save your damn job, what do you do?
You don't.
What do you do?
You don't.
You're not going to stick with the youngsters, right?
No,
you're trying to win.
You don't.
That's what I'm saying.
You don't rely on Nick Ahmed to save your job. That's on
Nick
you.
Ahmed was playing well.
That's on
Farhan.
Then Farhan needed to go already.
We're supposed to say play the youngsters. I'm not. What am I, deaf? What am I talking to a wall? Play the youngsters. But there's going to be a give and take, and you're going to lose games. And we saw this play out with the Warriors, even though they're in a different situation. They had Steph and Dre. They started playing the youngsters, and how many calls did we take? Oh, you got to stop playing position. Oh, you got to stop playing Kuminga. Oh, you got to do this. And I'm saying, well, long term, I got to figure out what's in these players can pop, right?
But you also had you're grasping at the last years of the greatest player in franchise history. The Giants haven't been relevant in multiple seasons. They don't even have an all-star on their current team. I just think the settings are totally different. To me, there's no correlation between the Warriors and the Giants. Their whole setting is different.
But in a way, though, like, for example, you told me, man, the Warriors aren't winning the championship, and I believe they weren't the championship team last season.
No.
They weren't. But at the same time, we'd like to know right now, May 22nd. Boy, it would be nice to know who Moses Moody is, right?
Yeah, but Moses didn't do enough to actually earn a spot. You know?
Let's go to BPA. BPA. Brian and Palo Alto. What's happening?
Hey, guys. And I think Farhan's cooked, right? That's the reality. I mean, you're cooked either way. Your middling veterans aren't good enough. I think Shasky, I'm fine with it if they want to play the young guy. I think the problem is, and you tell me, when your young players don't hit
yes.
at any level of development, and you say, okay, you're going to play every day in the major leagues in the show, I don't know that that's going to work out. I think Farhan knows that, by the way, right? That's why he's been trying to do anything.
Is BPA's phone tapped?
He does give me FBI vibes. Shout out to our friends at Flowing Water Plumbing and Drain. If you're going to call it to the roast, you better bring it or have a good connection, because if you don't, you will be flushed.
Farhan has BPA's phone tapped.
I've never heard
Brought to you by Flowing Water Plumbing and Drain. By the way, Copper Skillet tomorrow. We'll ask somebody at Copper Skillet, what do you do? Big game today.
You think BPA shows up?
To Martinez? No, he lives in Palo Alto. He's not driving all the way out there.
I'm optimistic about that.
Join us as we broadcast live from the Copper Skillet Courtyard in Martinez. Special open time at 6 a.m. So come on early. If you want to have us at at your location, email us at themorningroast@957thegame.com.
I never want to meet Brian in Palo Alto, by the way. I want to keep the allure. Like, I have this image in my head of him already. I don't want it's like meeting your hero or something. It's like, I don't want to meet him.
Yeah.
I agree.
Thank you.
Well, like, I'm looking at the big problems on the Giants right now, which is crazy. Because last night, look, yeah, the youngsters had a hand in the loss, but they also had a hand in why you had that many runs. Like, the big pictures on this team, the problems with this team right now, you referenced it earlier. Jorge Soler, a veteran, has been
not hitting
bad. Now,
awful.
Chapman's been great the last, 8, 9, 10?
279 in a month of May.
So the whole month he's been awesome. But he started off very slow, right, after the first weekend. Estrada has started off slow. Lamont Wade Jr. has been excellent.
Well, Tyro Estrada has been hitting good. I think he's playing
lately. He has been playing
right now.
But he started off really slow. You know, Yaz started off slow, but he's been really, really hot. The Jung-Hoo Lee injury, and he's a rookie, but you paid him like a veteran, hasn't been good. Conforto started off hot. He's cooled off.
Listen,
been
again,
hurt.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I want the youngsters to play just as much as anybody. But I also know and understand there's another side of this. And losses start to take their toll on people. People tune into games. They want to have fun. But there ain't no fun in losing games over and over and over again. So let's just see how it works. And let's revisit this conversation in 2 weeks when they do go through the Pirates and they play the Mets and they play the Phillies and they play the Yankees. What is it going to look like then? What will it look like with Matos 2 weeks into the bigs? What's it going to look like with Luciano? What is it going to look like with Ramos? You know, what is it going to look like?